ESPN NFL national reporter who covers the Cowboys, Todd Archer. Todd, I appreciate you taking some time to join us and to kind of start this whole thing off. The big news from last night, how is Jerry Jones?
Yeah, I got a text from Stephen Jones late last night that said all is good, Jerry's home, and everything's okay. So still waiting to get any details from Dallas police about what happened in the accident and all that sort of thing, if Jerry was even driving, things like that. So, but, the good news is he appears to be okay, and I'm sure he's conducting business, whether it's at the Star or one of his land companies or oil and gas or whatever it is. I'm sure Jerry's busy today like he always is.
Oh, I'm sure he is. And from watching Hard Knocks last year, you would think Jerry Jones only flies in his helicopter because that's all they ever showed him doing is going from point A to point B was through the air. I didn't even know Jerry still rode in cars.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing is, like, you have to ask the question. Okay, I know he goes in cars, but he doesn't drive himself all the time. Well, he still drives his own car every now and then. He does have a guy who's usually with him and does the driving. So that's the next question. One of the questions you need to look out. But yeah, I don't know where he lands the helicopter. I can't imagine he lands it in his backyard at Highland Park. I don't think his neighbors would enjoy that.
Yeah, I don't think they would actually be pleased to hear the noise every single day. But one of the main reasons I wanted to have you on to talk to you and get your opinions about is one of the draft picks for Jerry Jones and the Cowboys, former Razorback, only spent 1 year here after Illinois State. John Ridgeway, what was your initial reaction to that draft pick in the 5th round by the Cowboys, and what kind of spot do you think he's going to have down there in Dallas?
Yeah, I knew they liked him throughout the draft process. I knew Coach McCarthy liked him as he got to know the players more and what he can do and fill in that defense. And you got the sense that he would be their guy in the 4th and 5th round, and they were able to get him there in the 5th with their last pick. I think they had to sweat it out a little bit because they went Damone Clark, the LSU linebacker, who may or may not play this year because of a neck injury. They didn't want to lose him, and they took a gamble that Ridgeway would be there. But you look at this defense, and what they need is exactly kind of that body type that is Ridgeway. As Jim Nagy, the executive director of the Senior Bowl, told me yesterday, he's just a large human being. And you need those guys. And they don't have a lot of them at interior offensive line. We heard Jerry say after the draft they felt they got big boyed in the playoffs. Well, you bring a guy like this in to be a 2-down guy for you, to help stop the run, to help you not get big boyed, and they feel pretty good about the pick.
Mm-hmm. And you talk about that defense for the Cowboys. I think the main guy that's now becoming a household name, even after one season, in Micah Parsons. I remember the first time I saw him in person in the 2019 Cotton Bowl, Penn State versus Memphis, and I remember thinking that dude is going to be special, and he definitely didn't disappoint. What more do you think Cowboys fans and that front office is kind of expecting out of him after such an incredible rookie season to follow it up with a good sophomore campaign?
Yeah, that's the thing. We always hear the coaches talk about second-year jumps on guys, right? And we saw it last year with Trayvon Diggs when he had 11 picks. I don't know what kind of jump you can expect from Micah Parsons because he was so good as a rookie with the backs. Guy that was always around the ball, making tackles behind the line of scrimmage, was obviously the Cowboys' best defensive player, a Pro Bowler, and All-Pro. So he's setting a pretty high bar for himself. But I do think this offseason was about keeping his versatility in place to where you can line him up as a pass rusher, you can keep him at linebacker, you can move him around and do different things. So you look at Sam Williams, their second-round pick. He's the guy that can rush the passer in sub-packages. So you don't have to always use Mike in that situation. You look at retaining a guy like Vander Esch, and you look at Jabril Cox coming back from his knee injury. Then if they're able to play and do a good, solid job, then you can move Mike around. So I think the Cowboys are in a position where they can keep offenses guessing on what they're going to be doing with Micah Parsons. They don't want to just limit him to, hey, he's a linebacker, hey, he's a defensive end. They think they got the best of both worlds, and he showed last year he can handle it.
Mm-hmm. And now I read your article on ESPN about basically the draft pick. This draft class wasn't sexy. And when you draft an offensive lineman as your first round pick, that's not always the sexy pick. That's not the pick that gets your fans hyped, ready to go for next season. Doesn't sell a lot of season tickets in the off season when you draft an offensive lineman. But I was reading through it, and you made a lot of good points. And with this draft class, is there a guy that you think Cowboys fans here in the next 2-3 years are just going to absolutely fall in love and look back at this draft and say, thank God we took him?
Yeah, I mean, right now, if I had to pick a guy, I'd probably say their third-round pick, Jalen Tolbert, the wide receiver from South Alabama. And people will say, how can a guy from the Sun Belt Conference be a dude that you can expect to be an immediate player and be a guy to come in and make an impact? People I've talked to, he's got a pro body. He can handle the physical stuff. He can move around. He can do a lot of different things. The reason why I went back to South Alabama for his last year was to work on that Major Applewhite, who was at Alabama, did some similar things with Devontae Smith, was around when Sarkisian was a guy moving Devontae Smith around, and he really excelled there. And, Dak Prescott called the kid before the draft, and evidently the kid gave a lot of good answers to Dak because then the Cowboys almost took him in the second round, and luckily enough for them, they were able to get him in the third. You look at where they are now at receiver. You got CeeDee Lamb. Michael Gallup's not going to be ready for the first 3 games of the season. You got James Washington, who they signed as a free agent. They need Tolbert to come in right away. So I think he's a guy, not only just talking to Cowboy people, but some people across the league that think he can be an impact player. Now, is he replacing Amari Cooper? No, he's not replacing Amari Cooper, but he's a guy that can get you 45 catches as a rookie and then continue to grow from there. And you look where this cap is going and how they're going to have to massage some things with how many high-end players they have. I think this is a guy that people will look back and say, hey, that was a really good pick by the Cowboys on day 2.
Mm-hmm. And looking towards this 2022 NFL season, and especially with the Cowboys coming off of not only winning their division, but dominating their division. I mean, double-digit point margin, win margin against the NFC East. And I felt there was so much momentum. There was so much hype around the Cowboys. And unfortunately, going into the playoffs last year, and you drop round 1 to San Francisco. Going into this year, does it feel like for Coach McCarthy, it's a must to win a playoff game or two just to kind of keep his job? Because and I know Jerry recently, I mean, doesn't have a short leash with his head coaches. I mean, you look at Garrett, who was there for over a decade. And is it starting to feel like the leash is getting shorter or the seat is getting hotter if McCarthy doesn't deliver this year with a deep playoff run?
It does. And, some of it is us adding 2 and 2 in the media and saying, Sean Payton's out there, he's available, he still wants to coach. We know Jerry's relationship with Sean Payton, and so, there are elements there that will loom over Mike McCarthy throughout the season after every loss if they get to the playoffs and don't win. And also remember this, Jerry went out of his way to make sure Dan Quinn was happy, and he didn't go anywhere. Mm-hmm. So that's another element in this with Mike McCarthy and what he has to do to maintain his job. And, you mentioned Jason Garrett. He had similar, win or else type situations. Mm-hmm. And he won at the right times. In 2014, they go 12-4, win a playoff game. Obviously, lose controversially up in Green Bay. 2018, another deal where they need to win. They're struggling early. They come out and they win a playoff game and then lose in the divisional round the following week to the Rams, who go on to win the Super Bowl. So there's precedent on either side of this of getting it done and not getting it done. And I do think McCarthy is under pressure to win here. Because that's what he was brought here. He was brought here to do more than what Jason Garrett did. And that, Garrett got to the divisional round a couple times. McCarthy's here because he won a Super Bowl in Green Bay. He's an offensive guy. This is a team that's made its bones on offense. He better deliver this year, or I can see Jerry moving on. And either I don't really see Sean Payton part of the mix, but certainly see Dan Quinn being part of the mix if the defense continues to perform and the Cowboys don't make a playoff run.
Mm-hmm. Todd, we're going to leave it at this last question for you. And personally, I'm a Memphis guy. I just got to know. With Tony Pollard and his recent success over the last couple of years, and how is he going to be used this year? Is it going to be kind of the same situation, or do you think his productivity and his usage is going to go up this year?
Maybe it's probably a cop-out, but I would say both. I think his usage and productivity will go up, but I still think Zeke is going to be your lead back. The Cowboys obviously have a lot of money tied up into Elliott, but if you go back to before the knee really started bothering him, he was looking like a guy who was going to be among the leaders in rushing, if not win a third rushing title. So, but Pollard brings an explosive element to the offense, and they have to replace Amari Cooper's productivity somewhere, and Pollard's a guy that can get it done. You know better than anybody at Memphis, he really wasn't a running back. He lined up more.
He wasn't. He was a slot guy.
Receiver in the slot. Yeah. So maybe he's a guy you start seeing elements of that where I'm not going to say he's Deebo Samuel by any stretch, but maybe the Cowboys start giving him some Deebo Samuel type looks and getting the ball in his hands more because, again, Amari Cooper's gone. Blake Jarwin's gone. They have to fill some productivity in this offense, and Pollard's a guy that has shown that he can do a lot of different things. So maybe this is the year Kellen Moore gets him involved in a lot of different ways.
Well, we'll leave it there, Todd. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to join us, and hope the Cowboys have a great season for you to report on.
Partners at BetOnline continue to be the #1 source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, including updated odds on the NBA playoffs, fights, and even next season's futures. And don't forget that the MLB is back as well. Who are you picking to win the World Series? BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino and poker games. It's super easy to get started, so head to the website today or use your mobile device to join and use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.